Last month, I made a little over $9,400 day trading. Let me walk you through every trade I took this month so you can see exactly how I was able to do that and how much I made this month. No video on YouTube goes this in-depth into their strategy and shows you the reality of what it takes to be a consistent trader. Every trade we're gonna go over this month is going to have a crucial step to your success as a trader. Let's jump into the first trade and I will show you my exact 5-step process that I use to enter into every trade. You can trade this strategy on any market or any time frame. I like to focus on the oil futures, day trading it on a 1 minute, a 5 minute, or a 15-minute chart. And currently it is December 5th and we're looking at the first trade I took this month. The power of this strategy is that I don't take that many trades and it allows me to spot the best trades possible and then have a high risk reward ratio. Currently, what we're looking at is oil futures. And the first thing I do every morning coming into the market is I look at a larger time frame chart to find key areas of support and resistance. And so currently this is a 15-minute chart of oil. And this is where the market was trading when I opened up my charts the morning of the 5th. And so all I'm looking for is, okay, where has the market been swinging and reversing off recently? You can see here, the market's come up here, bounced off a couple of times, sold off, come up here again, sold off, and then come up here again. And this is where it's currently trading. So because of that, I'm going to draw a resistance zone up here, expecting that, okay, the market is likely to reverse off of that level again. It's an area that I want to be paying attention to. And then down here as well, there is a zone that I've drawn from previously before I can even see data over here. And so as well, you can also honestly pull this up a little bit to match even these bounces right here. And so going into trading, that's going to be an area of support that I want to pay attention to if the market sols off all the way. But currently, because the market's up at this level, I want to look out to see if the market's going to reverse here and capture a move. My risk would usually be smaller, and then I would be likely to catch a larger move. So that's where the risk reward ratio comes into play, where I risk a small amount and gain a large amount. And so here, this is a recording of my trade from that day. And what I look to get into is the first step is looking for that resistance or support level. I am betting that the market is going to go down here. And so I'm shorting the market and I'm going to make money as it goes down in my favor. Now, this next big step is because when you're reversal trading, you're essentially betting against the trend. You have to wait for that uptrend to lose momentum and then you can expect it to reverse. Because if the market's just in an uptrend and you try and randomly bet that it's going to reverse, you're going to get burned a lot of the time. And so the big keys that I have found is making sure that there is any clear uptrend that we have in play that is broken, and then as well seeing a couple of other catalysts that we're going to go over. So that first step is seeing that uptrend is slowed and broken, and just looking at the swings, you can see it's really starting to slow down and go sideways. There's a couple of uptrends here that are clearly broken. And so the second step is that I like to wait for is a lower high in the market or some kind of reversal pattern. So if I reverse here just to kind of show you where I actually got in, is the next step I wanted to look for is some kind of reversal catalyst. And so if you see here, the market made an attempt to break out here and reversed a lot. It gave this whole little move back up. And what that signifies to me is that there is weakness in the market and sellers are starting to come in, pushing the market back down. And so just because the market regains and has this little move up here doesn't mean that it isn't a good spot to get in and bet that the market is going to go lower. The way I see this is the market has made a attempt to break out here. It's been rejected. And then it makes another kind of weak attempt to keep going higher. And there's this tight little uptrend here. And what I'm seeing here is a double top. And so because of that double top and a break of this downtrend, I actually elect to get in short, expecting that the market is going to reverse here. And so this can be really scary because the market can quickly reverse here and knock you out if you're wrong. But the idea is with that risk reward is there's a small amount of risk here and a potential to catch a really large move. And so Again, you don't have to be right very often to be consistently profitable over the long run. That's the whole goal of trading. And so, I maybe got in a little bit early. That was a pretty aggressive entry, but right here, this is another very good entry to get in and bet that the market is going to go lower. Now, the way I manage my trades is if we zoom forwards now, because it takes a while to play out. This is a minute chart, even though it takes time. Now, the market did almost come up and knock me out, but you have to just sit on your hands. The whole idea is I want to wait for the idea of the trade to play out. And what I mean by that is the idea is that it's going to come up here, go sideways, lose momentum. I'm going to get in at some point, and then it's going to reverse. You don't know how long that's going to take. And so you have to let things play out and let it chop around and do whatever it's going to do, because you don't know what the market's going to do at any time. And so you just have to wait for things to play out. And so a big thing I was watching, there's this little minor support level here off of where the market bounced here multiple times. I'm going to expect that the market's going to find some support here, but because it's a minor level, I don't want to get out of my trade when it has a little bit of a bounce like this. I'm looking at the big picture, and again, if we look at the big picture on a larger time frame, I want to try and see if I can get a larger move like this. And currently the market probably looks like this. It's given some of that move right to that little minor support level right there, but I want to try and capture this. And so I want to give it some wiggle room. You can see I moved my stop. I had my stop here at break even. So if the market does come all the way back, I don't lose any money. And then once it makes this reversal here, and it gives this kind of move back up, my idea with moving it down here is, well, if it comes here and bounces again and goes higher, I definitely want to get out at that point. And then once we get to down here, this is at about 3x my profit. And I want to tighten up my stop loss because I do want to let it have some room to go down, but I also have a plan and rules that say once it hits 3 times my profit, I get out of the trade, or I trail up my stop loss to the previous candlestick's high. And you can see with these big bars here, it's likely that if it does reverse, it comes back really quickly. And so there I got knocked out of the trade. So let's move on to our next trade. This is December 7th on the NASDAQ futures. Now I trade a couple of different markets. It allows me to be more patient and wait for better setups. The market, doesn't show up with a really good setup every day. That's really the key about trading, is being patient and waiting for things to line up. You do not need to find trades every day. That's kind of a fallacy and not a good way to be consistently profitable. Now, looking at a 15-minute chart here, just to show you kind of where I had this level for the day, you can pretty clearly see that there's something up here, right? The market's come up here multiple times, big swings. And so once we come up here again, I'm thinking, yeah, there's a good chance that we get some kind of reversal off of here. And I want to capture some of that move. And so here I jump into a trade after going into a 1-minute chart now and seeing, okay, we have a move up. We've started to go sideways. Now the overall trend, if we look at it, that bigger picture real quick, is pretty solid up. And so when the market has a bigger uptrend move like that, I like to try and be a little patient with getting into the trade. And so even though we have those kind of 2 steps already done, that kind of big one I want to look for, okay, I want to see the market make a failed attempt to keep going higher. And kind of like with that last trade, looking for some rejection to start coming in the market. And so these were that starting to happen, but I was being very cautious because it kind of looks like we're in a little chop range here. I thought, okay, maybe I'll get in short here if it breaks lower below that. It showed some strength again. And so it started to just kind of bounce around, and I kind of took that order off actually. And so this is a big tricky thing about this strategy. Jumping in like this when the market is just not giving a very clear signal. A lot of the time when it does this, I just kind of sit out and say, you know what? It's not worth the risk. I'm just going to sit on the sidelines. And so here, I felt the market was starting to lose that steam. There's kind of this upward trend line here you can see that I thought, okay, maybe it's holding. And so I elected to put in an order here and say, okay, I will bet that the market's going to go down if it breaks that, because I think that's going to show that, okay, it's breaking out of here. We're going to catch this breakout. It's really lost its momentum here, and then it'll kind of just break out and just dive lower. And that can really happen a lot of the time where, and seeing this little time where this candle right here, if we just go back real quick, is this candle shot up here and then got rejected. And so that shows a lot of sellers are starting to come in and push this down. And so that gives me a lot of confidence in this trade now. And I have my stop loss above here because I think, hey, you know what? I think if it breaks here and then comes back up here and knocks me out, that's okay. Like, I want to get out at that point. There's no reason to have more risk or higher risk on up here, because I think if it breaks out up here, it's going to keep going higher and I'll just move on with the day. And you can see here, it literally got in. It was one tick. It was as close as it could be to knocking me out. And then it starts to go in my favor again. And so to manage these, again, you just have to sit and wait for it to do its thing. And in this case, its thing was actually knocking me out at a loss. It broke up higher here. And now the most frustrating thing about this just happens in trading sometimes is you can see the market, again, because it was in this choppy range, you can see it really didn't break out of this range. You know, maybe I was a little bit too tight with what I was looking for here. I should have waited for one more clean breakout like this. But you can see here, it broke up higher here, knocked me out, and then now it starts to puke lower. And this was the exact move I was looking for. And this is very, very frustrating when it happens. And it's probably the worst way to lose in trading, because when you're wrong, and you know, if the market just shot up here and kept going higher, that's, you know, I'm wrong, that's how it plays out, right? But in this case, the market barely knocked me out and then went in my favor really, really easily, and I would have got a really, really good profitable trade. And so that is a very, very frustrating trade, and that's just a part of trading. The market's gonna do the perfect thing to just circumnavigate your strategy and still work out the way you're predicting sometimes. And you just kind of have to get over it. Everything is possible in the market. And so all these little crappy potential things to happen can happen in trading. So our next trade is on the 12th, and this is another 5 days later. Again, my strategy does not show up that often on markets I'm trading, but when it shows up, it's worth the risk for me to take these trades. Now, we're looking at oil, and of course, the first thing I do, I look at, okay, where is the market trading? The market's currently trading right here. And so looking back a couple of days, there's a couple clear bounces here. And so that looks like a pretty good support level to me to see the market potentially reverse off of. Now, looking at this is a pretty big downtrend again. So with a big downtrend, these trades are a little more risky sometimes, I find. It's because the market can have a little bit of a bounce here and then reverse. And so it's about seeing if it looks like it's a good setup and is it worth the risk reward. And so here I zoomed into a 1 minute chart, and if we go back in the recording a little bit so you can see the downtrend I was looking at, here's the downtrend that the market had, and I jumped in right as it broke that downtrend because I'm seeing that, okay, the market made pretty much a double bottom right here. I thought this was a nice little attempt to keep going lower, and I thought that, okay, I can really see that this is about to kind of break here, and it's going to bounce off of this level. And so that's what I was looking for. And as well, this is a 5 minute chart of oil right here. You can see the downtrend is good. It's slowing. And then this candlestick right here shows a lot of momentum in one direction. And so I'm thinking that, okay, on a 5 minute chart, this looks really good to push higher. And so you can see here, I'm already up about 2 times my risk, and the trade's going really well in my favor. And so a big thing is, so I moved to break even here, and what I'm looking at is, okay, on a 5 minute chart, this is looking really good. It looks like, so what we have here is when the market kind of slows down and gets into an area like this, if we actually look at a 1 minute chart, actually, this makes it a little clearer, is the market can come up here, and if it breaks this kind of resistance area right here, or where this really fast sell-off was, it can just give that back really fast. So I'm thinking, okay, we're kind of slowly going up here. We're slowly going up here, and then we might accelerate all of a sudden. I'm kind of giving it that wiggle room, thinking that, okay, the market's gonna give me a pullback on a 5 minute chart, right? And I don't know how far that pullback is gonna be. I want to let things play out. And the idea is that if you think about it, if we look at this right here looks like a head and shoulders on a 5 minute chart. And so I think head and shoulders are the strongest reversal pattern there is. And so my thinking is, okay, it's gonna bounce here and it's gonna give us that really big swing back up. And you know, I'm gonna capture that move. Because of that, I let things play out. I was at break even, you know, I'm no risk on the trade, and it did get close. And so if we zoom back here a little bit, is the market got close to hitting my 3x, where I would still follow my plan of tightening up my trailing stop. And so 3x would be about $1,800. It hit about $1,500 in profit. And so that would be where I, tighten up to the previous trailing stop, or, based on this up channel here that was quickly just broken after I drew it, I would get out at below this candle and, take my profits and kind of run with the idea that, okay, I think it's gonna reverse quickly on me. But I did want to give room for this to play out, because if I moved it up here below this swing right here, which is definitely something I do, kind of going with the swings, my thinking is with that 5-minute pullback, it could go here and quickly reverse. And so I don't want to get knocked out right here when I could have just had my stop kind of at break even and miss out on that. And so that's where I was kind of looking for that bigger picture swing. Now the market almost came here and knocked me out, and then it started to look really good here. And so in the moment, I'm like, dang, it actually is holding. This is reversing really, really fast here. And so I'm thinking, okay, once we kind of get up here again, I might trail up my stop again. And you can see though that the market then again reverses very quickly. And so that it didn't really give much wiggle room into trying to tighten up a stop in any way that made sense. And so again, I was just kind of going with the fact that, you know what, let it play out. Again, this looks pretty good right here. If you look at a 5-minute chart, I think this looks pretty good for potentially going higher. Now, the only thing was, so it did knock me out of a loss there. The only thing was taking into account, again, the bigger picture trend. And so that was kind of what happened with the last trade. The bigger picture trend did eventually take over. And so here you can see the bigger picture trend took over, and the market just sold off the rest of the day. And so it was frustrating having that trade go pretty much $1,500 in my favor and then getting knocked out at break even. Maybe in hindsight, I should have just trailed up a little sooner. But again, you don't know what the market's gonna do. You can only try and have your plan and stick to it. That is what you need to do to be consistently profitable at trading. You have to just stick to your plan, and sometimes your plan isn't gonna play out very well, right? But the big key is to not deviate because a couple trades don't go in your favor. That is how you are going to get stuck in just the roller coaster of trading and never break out of it and start to make consistent profits and progress towards being a consistent trader. Now, this is the next day, December 13th, on oil again. And so what I did was looking at, we can see this is where I took that last trade and the market sold off. It kind of bounced here. And so I came into the day thinking, okay, the market's kind of bounced here. It bounced up here. That's kind of a good level. And so once the market's kind of here, I want to potentially see a reversal and see maybe we can continue this big downtrend lower. Looking at a 1-minute chart, is the market was pretty dang choppy this day. A lot of what I was actually doing for reading this was looking at a 5-minute chart, because on a 1-minute, it was just kind of all over the place and really hard to read. And so on a 5-minute, looking at this, you can see, okay, the market's got in a nice uptrend. We're at that resistance zone I had previously drawn. And then we have the market starting a good rejection here. The market's come up here in a good methodical manner and then rejected. And so there's really no uptrend in place after that point. You can see, okay, maybe there's an uptrend here. That's pretty clearly broken. There's maybe something like this. Anything you can try and draw there, I would say is broken. And so the market's made a good new low here. And again, I like to look for the market to come back up and make a lower high, so I can bet that the market's gonna go lower. And so what I look for here is, okay, the market was making a lower high, very, very choppy. It really isn't showing that much in terms of strength or weakness to go lower. And so I want to wait for kind of a catalyst. And so what I like to wait for is some kind of attempt for the market to break out here and reverse. And so there was actually news coming at 7:30. And so that's what happened here, is that the market broke out here on a 5-minute and started to reject that. And so if we look at what that entry looked like, this is now looking at a 1-minute, but the market broke out here on that news and then was very quickly rejected. And so I saw this big bearish candlestick. I thought, hey, that's a really nice catalyst in terms of what I call a fail breakout. And we've come all the way back down here. I think that it's a potential that we, that's what the market was waiting for. It's kind of faked people to the upper side here, and then it's going to just quickly reverse and push lower. What starts to happen here? It starts to look like it's going to do that. And, there's a minor support level here. That's not a big deal, And so I'm just waiting for things to play out. And what ends up happening is it doesn't reverse there. This maybe was just a push higher and a pullback to that area. Doesn't really matter what it is, but the main thing is that the trade didn't work out there. And again, that's, you know, kind of a frustrating loss, especially because it's, you know, starting to pile on of having a couple frustrating trades. And so you have to pay attention to that. And a big thing is, you know, in hindsight, I don't think this was that good of a resistance level. The most of the time, I like to look at bigger swings like this, where the market's making pretty clear swings and you can draw kind of some kind of resistance level here. And here, you know, this is just a little pullback and a downtrend. And then the market comes up here again and makes a minor pullback. There's no clear swings off of this. And so, you know, in hindsight, going into the next month, I need to be aware of, don't break your rules on trying to look for more levels, because that might be a thing of I'm trying to look for more trades. You know, more trades come off of finding more levels, right? The big key to this strategy is finding the strong levels and avoiding trades from really kind of crappier levels like this. And so you can see just how it played out. On a larger time frame, it kind of just slowly went higher from here and broke that level. That level clearly wasn't that important of a level. And so my next trade here was actually on oil in a 5-minute chart again. For some reason, I had a lot of trades in oil. And so it's actually December 19th. So this is quite a few days after the last trade. You know, I've had time to kind of reset and kind of refocus, kind of get over the frustration of maybe having a couple of frustrating trades. In trading, you have to try and reset, and you don't want to be outcome focused. You don't want to be results focused. You need to just stick to your strategy and then review later. And, you know, maybe at the end of the month or something, right? And so again, here we are looking at oil on a 5-minute. Market's currently right here. And so there's a good swing right here, and just zooming all the way back to really kind of a month ago, you can see the market bounced up here multiple times, actually on the 5th, which is one of the trades we took. And so I'm just going to draw a box here. And so how I do that, you know, I kind of just take in kind of the upper area of those swings. And so we're clearly kind of in that box, and there was this clear high that we reversed off here. And so again, I'm just looking for the market to reverse. There's a pretty clear uptrend here. Again, I'm always going to be waiting to be broken. And so here is that uptrend. That's kind of our step 2. That's pretty clearly broken. And then the next thing is I want to make sure that uptrend, it attempts to keep that uptrend going. So I want to see kind of this uptrend here, you know, make a head and shoulders, which essentially is confirmed right here. And then you can also see there's a nice little double top up here. And the market's, you know, it's kind of an island up here in terms of it has good move up here. There's some consolidation and it reverses, and then it comes up and retests kind of that area and then sells off. And so to me, that's a good show of, okay, it had momentum, it's losing it clearly. And, you know, this is a nice big bullish bar. I didn't jump in short just off of this little bullish bar, because I think that's a little risky in my eyes. To show you exactly where I jumped in, I jumped in after I saw this red bar as well. What that's confirming to me is that this move right here has been rejected. Now, it's totally possible that the market comes here, moves up here, comes up and retests this and continues higher. You know, maybe this is just a pullback in the uptrend that is continuing, right? And again, that's always totally possible. Anything is possible in the market. The idea is that what I'm doing here is I'm risking a small amount and going for larger amounts. And so even though I maybe have a bunch of losses piling up, or, you know, the trades aren't going great for this month, I'm actually not down that much. I'm still up money, because my wins are a lot bigger than my losses. And so, you know, zooming forwards a little bit and looking at even a 15-minute chart, I don't enter trades based on a 15-minute chart, but this would be an entry on a 15-minute chart for me. It's gone up, it's broken that uptrend right there, and then it's made a pretty good little double top here right at the highs, and then it's made that kind of attempt to go higher, and it's got rejected. And so I would jump in here if I hadn't already, betting that the market was going to go down and, you know, target this area down here for a profit target. And so you can see right here, it's starting to go in my favor really nicely. And again, this is a 5-minute chart, so it takes a while to get going. And again, you have to let things play out. You have to give it time, because the thing is, it can be scary giving the trade wiggle room, because I can be up $600 at $1,500 like we did in the last trade, and it come back on you. The idea is with giving that wiggle room is that it allows you to not get knocked out, because you could have seen this big bullish candle right here and gone break even, and this little pullback right here would have knocked you out. And you know, the market totally still has the potential to keep going down here. Now, of course, it does have potential to keep going higher, but you know, let the big picture play out. The trend is clearly reversing here or losing momentum, and so there's a good potential for it to reverse. And again, you always have to remember the math is on your side, that risk reward is in your favor. This trade, frustratingly enough, does kind of reverse and knock me out. And, you know, maybe, you know, in hindsight, it's like, oh, maybe I should have got out on this break of this downtrend right here, which would have basically been break even. But again, you don't want to be doing changes based on a couple things. You know, it's December, the market's kind of weird in December sometimes, and your strategy isn't going to work out every month. Even though I made close to $10,000 last month, that doesn't mean I'm going to make that much this month. Trading isn't about your results every month. It's about how it is over the long term. And before we move on to the next trade, the important thing to remember is when you're frustrated and dealing with kind of a struggle of a month, or just in kind of a funk, you want to try and reset as much as possible. You need to be focused on, okay, what do I need to do to reset? And the biggest thing when it comes to results of trading is you can't let when you're frustrated spiral you into a bigger loss streak and accelerate the losses that are happening. Because for me, what I used to have happen is my P&L would be kind of in a boom and bust cycle where I would make a bunch and then, you know, get overstressed or something would start to not go good, and I have a couple losses, and then I get really frustrated and start to, you know, maybe revenge trade, maybe look for losses, not look for losses, but I would, you know, look for more trades to try and make that money back. And that would essentially accelerate poor trading decisions, which would then increase my losses. And so then I would realize, okay, I have to stop, I have to reset. I need to take a whole week off from trading so I can get my head right, refocus, and then I would go on another win streak because I would be making really good trading decisions. And so, you know, of course, I still have trades that don't work out because no strategy is going to win 100% of the time. But when I do lose, I more flatline. But that wouldn't, you know, really happen. It would be, you know, again, I would go through that kind of boom and bust cycle. And so even with this month being kind of flat at the moment, going into this next trade, and it's frustrating. The idea is, well, I'm up like 10,000 from last month. This month it's going terrible, to be honest. Like, even though I would say I'm trading really well, I'm resetting before every trade really well. I'm going into every trade focused on the plan and the strategy and the execution, try not to be results focused. I got to keep in mind that, you know, if a terrible month is going to basically make me break even, and I can basically just break even and then reset and come back and have another good month, well, overall, again, long-term focus, which is what we want to be with trading, that's really good. You're basically just consistently making money at that point, way better than if I was going to go up and this month I get frustrated over a couple of losses that are just natural and then I lose a lot of money, right? And so that's a massive key that allowed me to stay on it this month, because at the end of the day, you don't know when another really good trade is around the corner, and you want to be ready to go so you can jump on that opportunity, because that trade could be a 3x, a 4x, a 5x, and you could be in the green. You know, right now I'm basically break even, and one good trade could put me up 2 to 3K for the month. And so again, you have to just focus on that bigger picture, and that things are just unknown and that you don't know how they're going to play out. What the only thing you can control is when you show up to trade, and are you ready to make good trading decisions under a stressful environment. And so looking at this trade, we're actually looking at the euro dollar. And so this is the futures for a Forex market basically. And so again, what I'm looking at is the market's trading right here. And I'm seeing, okay, the market's kind of up here, it's sold off, it's come up here again. Now, this is kind of one of those minor levels again. And so again, in hindsight, going into next month, maybe I need to be aware of that I was maybe looking for these a little bit and trying to force some trades. And not being as patient as I was last month. And so, you know, really, I'm looking for the market to come up to this level and sell off of there. But, you know, my thought was, hey, you know, it had a really good reversal here, and I think it could give that back up. And so looking at a 5-minute chart, And so how I entered in on this trade was the market had a pretty fast move up. And so when it has a fast move up like this, it can reverse it very, very quickly. And so because of that, because there's no pullbacks in the market, you know, a healthy trend has pullbacks in it, and this trend does not. You can see it's just kind of all candles are just going straight up, right? And then it goes into the sideways move. And then so what I was looking for was, well, there was some news that happened at 7, which made this little blip. And so I was looking for kind of a breakout, a reversal, and then kind of a pullback and retest. And so what happened here was, looking at the recording on a 1 minute chart, the 1 minute chart on this market, on the euro dollar, doesn't look that good because there's not as much volume, but you can see that breakout pretty clearly here and reversal from that news. And then what I saw here was it made that attempt to go higher, that kind of lower high, and then it broke below this area here. And so I think that that is a good breakout. And the reason why I'm okay buying this breakout is because it's already done a fail breakout in the other direction. If it does a fail breakout in the other direction, I think it's more likely that it has a real reason to reverse and break out in this other direction versus kind of failing and faking you out. And as well, of course, the uptrend is kind of slowing down. And on a 5 minute, there is a really big bullish candlestick, and especially with these two big bullish candlesticks here as well. And so if I just kind of speed up to kind of zoom through this to kind of show you how I played it, is again, this is on a 1 minute, but I was planning to manage on a 5 minute because I want to see this move get given back up. And again, I trying to risk about $600 per trade with the idea of getting about $1,800 per trade roughly. Yeah, you know, that because I manage in more of a fluid style, that can change, but that's kind of how I'm looking to do things. And so this starts to break out and looks really, really good in my favor. And so this is looking great. It's not quite at a point where I want to move to break even. Probably if it got to about here, I would move to break even, but I want to give it time to pull back, because right here, it could easily pull back right here, kind of retest this area and reverse lower. And so that's what I was kind of looking for. And instead, you know, the market kind of just reversed on me and knocked me out at another loss. And so to show you, even this was just as frustrating actually as that trade we had earlier on the NASDAQ. It was because it breaks up a little bit higher here. And then I don't have that far in the recording because I, turn off after a while, but then the market just reverses all the way lower there. That's really frustrating to have happen, where it comes up, knocks you out, but the area and your overall idea of, okay, the market's going to reverse up here somewhere, I just have to, jump in, let it play out, works out, but your actual trade doesn't work out. And that's a part of trading that's really frustrating, and you just kind of have to deal with it. And it's a really short month, and at the time of filming it, it's getting to Christmas break, and I'm taking off the next week. And so I close up and I'm done for the month on that trade. And so what happened overall, to show you my actual results and performance, with fees and everything, I lost about $900. And so it was really about $800. It was kind of a flat month, which is frustrating. But in the end, trading isn't about every month. Again, think of it in the big picture. The goal is to start out and slowly grow your account over time. You're gonna have ups and downs. And if you try and be results focused every month, and every month has to make you money, it's gonna be way harder for you to be successful at trading. And so because of that, I don't even think I'm gonna do these videos every month. I think I'm gonna try and push it out to every quarter, because again, trading is more about the long term. And for me, it puts a lot of pressure on my results, and it makes me more results focused if I'm trying to think about how my results are doing every month, when again, that doesn't matter. It's about the long term and growing your account over time. A year ago, I was risking $200 or $300 per trade. And now I'm risking, the most I risked on a trade this month was $720. Sadly, it lost, but my risk is a lot bigger, and I'm planning to up my risk again in a couple months because I'm confident in my trading. I know I'm consistently profitable over the long term, maybe not every month, but even on a crappy, terrible month like this, where the market it feels like it had it in for me, I still really didn't lose that much money in the grand scheme of things. I was down one trade basically. And again, going over time, as my size gets bigger, those big, larger, profitable months where I make close to 10,000, that could be 30,000. And then this month like this where I lose, maybe 3,000. And again, that doesn't matter in the big picture when I have months where I make a lot more money. Now, of course, I'm sure I'll have months where I lose more than this, but again, trading has ups and downs. And if you're someone like me that struggles with the consistency of dealing with these emotions of ups and downs of trading and trying to stay away from being results focused, in this video right here, I'm going to show you the 9 most impactful lessons that I've actually learned from my trading coach, who I've learned from over the last 3 years, that has really helped me stay consistent even on months like this.